What's up, guys? Lance the Obscure Movie Guy coming to you. We're going to do a road trip video as I am leaving the not so great state of Maryland and heading south to Florida, where I will take up residency. So right now I'm driving a 26-foot box truck with a tow dolly attached to it with my car. And it is going to be one long adventure. We're going to be driving in a convoy. So I figured I'd do a road trip video and talk about some of the movies that have been filmed in some of the states that I will be driving through. And as you can see, I'm trying to look around because I've never driven anything this ridiculously big in my life. But I am leaving Maryland outside the township of Havre de Grace. Which, little known fact, I was actually born in Havre de Grace. I don't consider it my hometown, but when I was born, the only hospital in my county was in Havre de Grace. But one thing that was filmed in Havre de Grace was House of Cards with Robin Wright and Kevin Spacey. Ran for 73 episodes, and a lot of the filming was done in downtown historic Havre de Grace for mostly the architecture. And they did do some of the filming for the show in Washington, D.C. as well. But the historic buildings in Havre de Grace and the city council buildings and stuff like that, they used a lot in the show. Actually had a couple of friends, I'm not going to mention their names, but they were extras in a couple of the episodes, which was kind of cool. So be sure to check that out. Obviously, House of Cards kind of had to falter a little bit and change in the last season or two because of the whole Kevin Spacey sexual assault debacle. So, but that's one thing. Let's see, what's something else that was filmed in Maryland? Got a lot of stuff that was filmed in Maryland, actually. Here's a good one for you. What the heck was it called? A Dirty Shame. A Dirty Shame was a John Waters film. It was actually the last one he's directed, and it was actually filmed down on Harford Road in Baltimore. The whole movie was done down there. Starred Chris Isaac, Johnny Knoxville, Selma Blair. It was definitely an interesting movie. Definitely not for everyone's taste. It did really bad in the box office, though. It only did like 1.9 million. And it actually did so poorly that John Waters has not done another movie since, which is too bad because John Waters is a pretty brilliant mind. And another side note, here's an interesting thing. My wife was actually on set for that movie, was an extra in one of the scenes, but unfortunately the scene got cut from the movie, so you don't actually get to see her, unfortunately. But, let's see, what's another thing? Here's a good one for you. What about Homicide, Life on the Street, or The Wire? Those two are really good ones. Homicide starred Andre Braugher. And that's filmed right down in Baltimore. I've actually been to the old historic, well, I don't know if it's historic, but it was the old building that they actually used for the precinct shots down in Canton, I think. Something of that nature. And we're trying to get this big boy moving. But Homicide, Life on the Street. And another quick side note. A friend of mine when I was a kid, actually probably going to talk about him again in another episode. His name's Justin Fair, independent film guy. He's been doing a lot of stuff on his own. He's a really interesting kid. I went to school with him, but he was on a couple of episodes of Homicide, Life on the Street. Did a few commercials back in the day. He's doing a lot of really interesting work these days, and probably bring him up again in another episode. So, heading out of Harford County, Maryland, heading to Florida. And I will hit you up in the next video. Alright, so we're in the Baltimore, Washington metro area. Also like Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., that whole little section right there. And let's talk about three There's a lot of movies that have been done in and around the Washington area, Richmond, Virginia, Langley area, anything that's pretty much government related with the CIA or Washington, D.C., state government, country government. It's all filmed in and around here. National Treasure is a good one. Both of them. They're good movies. Enemy of the State, which was filmed a lot in Baltimore City, but also some in Washington. That's 1998. That's Will Smith trying to come off of his Fresh Prince times and trying to establish himself as an actor. That was a really good movie. Starred him, Gene Hackman, Jon Voight, who coincidentally was also in National Treasure. That was an ensemble cast too. There was a lot of young actors at the time making a little bit of their footnotes there in that movie. But you had Jamie Kennedy, Jack Black was in it for a little bit, Barry Pepper. The list goes on. Then you've got movies like Mars Attacks, which was, I don't know if it was actually filmed in Washington. Probably a lot of green screen in that one. But I do think some of it was actually filmed on location in Washington, D.C. Another ensemble cast, Pierce Brosnan, Glenn Close, Jim Brown, Jack Nicholson. So, a lot of cool stuff goes on around Washington film-wise. It's a pretty cool place to visit. I highly recommend the National Air and Space Museum. But really, if you want to go to the good one, you got to go to Dulles to see the SR-71 and the space shuttle. That's where the shit is at. So, right now we're traveling up through, I don't know where we're at, but trucking on. Left about, it was about an hour into this trip. I'm already ready for a nap. Driving this big bitch is stressful, so got a greater appreciation for truck drivers. Shout out to my buddy Matt, who's one. I know his life is difficult sometimes. That, and I know he hates 83. Matt, you know who you are. So, I'll hit you up with another update in a little bit. Morning, gang. Now in the heart of D.C., out of the metro area, actually down in the heart of it, traveling through at the Capitol building to my right. At least I think it's a Capitol building. Looks like a big old titty, so it must be. But yeah, traveling through. So here's a couple of DC movies for you, and I don't mean Detective Comics. We're not talking DCEU, anything like that. We're talking Washington DC. So 1983. DC Cab, starring my man Mr. T and Adam Baldwin, and kind of a cheeseball movie, nothing fancy there. 1983, Mr. T's always been Mr. T, and Mr. T's just doing what Mr. T does, and it's about a guy who takes over his family's failing taxi cab company, and is losing out to the competition, wants to try and make it better, and it's a wholehearted story. It's entertaining enough to watch at least once. It's not really anything I'd ever go back to really check out again. But I do like Mr. T. Mr. T is one of the few people that have been able to make a career out of just being themselves, literally. Another fun movie that's primarily Washington-based was 1993, Dave. And if you're not familiar with Dave, that starred Sigourney Weaver, Kevin Kline, and basically Kevin Kline's kind of got a dual role type thing, but the President of the United States gets sick. Tell me if this sounds familiar or not. But the President of the United States ends up getting fairly ill, and the powers to be don't want anybody to know that the president is sick, so they hire this guy Dave to be the president, to basically be the president. He's a lookalike. He looks like the president, so they hire him to be the president while the president is sick. Now the fun part is Kevin Kline has always been an amazing actor and does a really good job in this film, but Dave, the character, turns out to be a better president than the actual president. So, you know, can we get some of that, please? But But there you have it. A couple of actual DC movies there in the heart of Washington, DC. And I'll make another clip here in a little bit. All right, we are in the heart of Virginia. Shout out to my former mates at DC 107. You know who you are. Kelvin, Leo, Demetrius. All good people. But let's go over 3 movies real quick that's been filmed in the heartland of Virginia. And ironically, check this one out. 1987, Dirty Dancing. Bet you guys didn't know that. Dirty Dancing was filmed primarily in Virginia, starring the late Patrick Swayze. And Nobody Puts Baby in a Corner. Another one that was filmed in Virginia. Actually, this one is relatively new, 2020. Wonder Woman 1984. Had a huge portion of it shot at the Landmark Mall in Virginia. And then there was, what's that stupid movie? Not Bruce Almighty, Evan Almighty, 2007. That was filmed in Charlottesville, Virginia, which I have no idea where that's at. I might be passing through it at some point. Right now I'm outside of Manassas, somewhere around Thornburg apparently. So we're still trucking. I got my little buddy with me this time. Say hi.
Hi.
He's playing Lego Jurassic World. So, and what wasn't filmed in Virginia?
It was filmed in Hawaii.
Huh?
It was filmed in Hawaii.
Godzilla was filmed in Hawaii?
No, it was filmed in Hawaii. Jurassic Park.
Oh, Jurassic Park was filmed in Hawaii.
No, Jurassic World.
Yes, you're right. You're right about that.
Godzilla
So,
was filmed in
we'll hit you up in another video in a couple. Alright, we just crossed over into North Carolina, heading towards Roanoke Rapids. I don't know why, I'm just following my point man. We're somewhere in the backwoods of North Carolina on South 48. But 3 flicks real quick that was filmed in North Carolina. It's NASCAR country, so of course, 1990 Days of Thunder. And while a large part of that was filmed at the Daytona track, there was part of it filmed in Charlotte at the Charlotte racetrack. Great flick too. If you're a NASCAR fan, you gotta watch it. Another NASCAR movie, and I don't know if I've talked about this one in a prior video or not, but Logan Lucky was filmed in Charlotte as well, also at the Charlotte racetrack during the Coca-Cola 600. That stars Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, and Daniel Craig. Check that one out, it's hilarious. And then another one, 2016, Masterminds. It's not a NASCAR movie, but it was filmed in North Carolina. And it's it's a pretty funny movie, actually. Jason Sudeikis, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones, Zach Galifianakis. Pretty much a comedy about boneheaded criminals that aren't necessarily masterminds, as it would be. Jim Carrey was actually supposed to be in that movie, dropped out before pre-production, and they picked up Zach Galifianakis to take his place. So, pretty funny movie to watch. It's not necessarily an SNL movie, even though it's got a lot of SNL actors in it, but check that one out as well. And me and my boy will hit you up on another video in a little bit. All right, we're trucking halfway through South Carolina. We just got done listening to the race. Tell them who won.
Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson. How many wins he's got this year?
7.
7 wins this year. So my boy's happy about that. It's his favorite driver. So too bad we couldn't watch it, but we've been trucking since, well, it's been about 12 hours now. Maybe 13 hours. We're in South Carolina. So some movies that were filmed in South Carolina, I don't know. You know, part of Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, was filmed in South Carolina. Some of the early production was done in South Carolina. Then they moved it to a town in. It's not San Antonio. It's outside of San Antonio. It's not Uvalde. It's Hondo, Texas. But before that, they were in South Carolina. They also finished filming Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, in British Columbia. What's another one? Forrest Gump. Now, a lot of Forrest Gump was filmed in Alabama, but there was parts of it that were filmed in Beaufort, which is going to be probably the name of our future dog. We'll find out in 2022.
No.
No? It's up to your mother.
I don't know when they're gonna find me.
Let's see, something else. The Legend of Bagger Vance with Will Smith. Again, trying to shed that Fresh Prince image. Late 90s, early 2000 movie. It's a golf movie. It's no Tin Cup, I'll tell you that. But Will Smith did a good job in it. Definitely started to establish himself as a pretty good actor with that. But that was filmed here in South Carolina as well. So we're still moseying down 95 in this big ass box truck. This thing sucks. I'll tell you all about it later. And we'll do another video when we get to Georgia.
Bye-bye.
All right, heading into Georgia. Almost there. It's now 8 o'clock at night. And I still have been driving. We're just now leaving a Love's. Go Michael McDowell. 2021 Daytona 500 champion. Driving this big bitch. So heading into Georgia. And Georgia, for the most part, is actually like the East Coast version of Hollywood. There's a ton of stuff that is filmed in and around the Georgia area, especially in Atlanta. Obviously the show ATL. The Resident is a really popular one. I know you guys can't see me, but you can still hear me. But Resident is filmed in Georgia. In fact, the exterior and some of the interior shots are actually shot at an art museum in Atlanta, while some of the shots from like the emergency room and stuff like that, it's actually shot inside of like an actual hospital. Dude, I am fucking coming over, okay? Seriously, like, I'm in a fucking truck. You're gonna fucking wait. Might has right, you fuck. And that's my road rage for the day. Yeah, Landon thinks that's funny. Fuck it, dickhead was gonna keep right on coming.
I'm gonna keep on coming.
Tyler Perry's, can you feel the vibration in the truck? That's not me doing it, that's the shake of the truck. But Tyler Perry's studios are actually in Georgia. So most of all of the Medea stuff is filmed here in Georgia. So that's pretty cool. He's had a couple of fires in that studio a couple of times though, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, Georgia. Next stop, Florida. We'll catch you on the flip side. All right, everyone. I know you can't really see me, but it's about 12:30 at night. We finally made it to the state of Florida. We're not exactly yet to our destination, but we've made it to Florida. Definitely not in record time unless we were going for the longest drive ever. It's been a never-ending journey for multiple reasons. But my son has reminded me that I need to do a video for Florida. And he wanted me to talk about Daytona. So, Days of Thunder, we've already kind of discussed a little bit. But here's the cool thing that you might not know about Days of Thunder and the filming that they did. A lot of the on-track footage that you see in the film is from camera cars that were actual NASCARs and were actually entered in the sanctioned events. One of them was actually driven by Bobby Hamilton, and I can't remember what the other one was driven. The other one was driven, he wasn't even a NASCAR driver. The other one was actually driven by a stunt car driver, but they did let him he was experienced enough to get a NASCAR license and let him drive. But a lot of the footage you see on screen was from specially designed NASCARs that were entered in the sanctioned event, and in some cases actually raced. Bobby Hamilton actually qualified one of the cars, I think 6th, in one of the events, and they actually were so happy with that they actually pulled the camera equipment out of that car to let him actually run the event without any of the extra weight. But so that's kind of cool. Days of Thunder, obviously, a lot of it in Daytona. You know, another side note, the famous rental car scene, what did take place down on Daytona Beach, and the two stunt drivers at the time, apparently there was no safety equipment involved. They actually took rental cars out there and just beat the crap out of each other with them. So that was a lot of legit footage. There's actually a part of that scene, if you slow it down, you can actually see one of the hits was so hard that the driver's head actually busted out the driver's side window. So it was pretty legit. One of my favorite things that was filmed in Florida, second greatest show of all time, Burn Notice. What's that, buddy? What? My son wants to tell you that Cars 3 was filmed in Florida.
Yeah, they went under the pier.
Yes, they did go under the pier. That's right. So Cars 3 is in Florida. And Burn Notice with Jeffrey Donovan, Bruce Campbell, Gabrielle Anwar. So good flick. That's the second greatest show of all time. And yeah, there you go. 3 things filmed in Florida: Days of Thunder, Burn Notice, and Cars 3. Compliments of my son. I will catch up with you guys in the next video. What's up, guys? Let's recap our crazy trip to Florida. The move from hell. I was up for over 24 hours. The drive itself, unfortunately, with this big ass truck and pulling a car and small children, took us 22 hours. Normally they would take like 18 hours, but this U-Haul did not want to do anything above 55, which isn't recommended anyways with the dolly in the car. But even without that, taking it home right around 60 miles an hour, it shook like a bitch. So I wasn't trying to play with that anyways. So 55 miles an hour the whole way down. Shake, rattle, and roll. Multiple stops. It was a giant pain in the ass. Giant pain in the ass. But we made it. I won't say life's good just yet. Still got to unpack the U-Haul. Actually going to a storage unit right now to unload some of this stuff. But yeah, all in all, crazy trip. 22 hours, small children. My boy did pretty good. You guys saw, well, you didn't see him, but he was in, you heard him in some of the videos. He was pretty good the whole trip. The girl was pretty good the whole trip. But as with most small children, they need to pee a lot. So, not gonna lie, he got a lesson in peeing in a cup while going down the road. But if anybody ever needs to rent a U-Haul and you're in the state of Maryland in the Harford County area, go see the guys at Falston Service Center. That guy was awesome. Showed me how everything worked on the truck, pulled it out for me, hooked up the dolly for me, showed me how everything worked on the dolly. Dude was a stand-up guy, class act, 5 stars all around. Even had a plaque in there for 25 years of excellent service from U-Haul. So, got to get a U-Haul in Harford County, Maryland. That's the place to go. Now, I will say the U-Haul in and of itself is kind of a pain in the ass. It's a 26-foot box truck. It's the largest one you can get without having to get a CDL. And even that's kind of sketchy. I wouldn't trust just anybody with this big bitch. It's built off of the Ford F650 truck platform. Now look, their motto is rides like a van, hauls like a truck. I'm telling you right now, this big bitch rides like shit. It's got no suspension in the back. I'm sure some of their smaller stuff based off of the F350 chassis probably rides a little bit better, but this sumbitch rides awful. And I'm willing to bet U-Haul doesn't do a whole lot of maintenance to these things. Now this thing's only, well, it had 59,000 miles on it when I picked it up. The steering wheels, when I got it, was stuck at 11 o'clock position. It pulls hard to the right, shakes like a mother going down the road. I don't know what U-Haul's policy is on their maintenance program, but they need to step it up just a tick. Part of the reason why it took so long to get down here. The other pain in the ass with this thing, as much as I love Ford, this is a, I don't know, some sort of drive green machine. I don't know what the deal is. I'm not up to date on the latest of Ford's engines, but this is a non-E85 engine. You have to get gas that is less than E85, which was kind of a pain in the ass to find at some of these joints. Royal Farms was good. They had like E83 that you could have gotten, which was okay. Love's Truck Stops was pretty good. And I think some of the pilots, we had a little bit of an issue with a couple of the pilots. But Circle K didn't have any. We did stop at a Shell station that did happen to have some, so kind of a pain in the butt all the way around, but it does haul a lot of shit, so I'm not going to take that away from them. So that was my adventure in this big ass box truck that I'm currently driving to a storage unit. So that's all for now. I hope to drop you guys a video in the coming weeks. I got a plan for my birthday. They're going to re-release Rocky IV Director's Cut from with Sly Stallone. Going to be 40 minutes of new footage for the movie. They're taking out a lot of the montages, putting in the actual footage that Sly Stallone wanted to use originally. So it's going to be a little bit more in-depth of a movie. Shed a lot of light on Drago's character, Dolph Lundgren, and which will obviously open up, you know, give a little bit more insight into how the Creed movies happened with Drago and Creed 2. So that's going to be really cool. I'm trying to go see that. It's a one-night showing. I got to drive to like Mount Dora, which is like 40 minutes from where I'm staying right now, but hopefully be able to bring you that and see what other things I can bring you in the meantime. So, you can see it shaking around, right? I'm doing 35. Yeah, it rattles. So, but I'll catch you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed my Florida adventure. So, I'll see you in the next one.